Well, folks, did you miss our faces? That's right. Welcome back inside the janitor's closet. Josh Frey-Sam here alongside my good buddy Bryce Hunt. And folks, a little bit of a change up since we've last seen you guys, which was what had that been? The Super Bowl brace?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little bit of a change up here, you'll notice Josh, am in the hosting chair, which can only mean one thing, folks, and that means yes, the tarp is off on the diamond. Spring training's fully underway, and Bryce, you are on the hot seat, my friend, because it is MLB season. It's time for baseball. Bryce, I already asked. I ask you like pretty much every single time. I mean, just take me through now that it's kind of you on the hot seat here. It's your time to shine. What's the feelings here? Take me through the emotions. Are you fired up? Are you feeling pressure? Are you what are you at? Where are you at with everything right now as we kind of are just a couple weeks away from opening day?
Yeah, I feel good, man. We're about 10 days away from opening this thing up in Japan. Dodgers and Cubs about 2.5 weeks from opening day. It's an exciting time of year. Been dipping the toes into spring ball, getting all the models. We're gonna have a new model on top of our first five. We're gonna have a player prop model this year. So I've been in the lab, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, a lot of reading articles. We're gonna have a busy year on the diamond this year, Josh.
That's good. I think the people appreciate that you're putting in the work there and have the Excel sheets out. Folks, welcome to what is our Futures Bets episode. I probably should have said that off the top. Futures Bets, always starting our season, our respective seasons, whether it be MLB or NFL, off with our Futures Bets episode. And Bryce, I kind of like the way you got this thing laid out. You've got a couple of position players, you got a couple of pictures, you got a couple of teams that we're betting on. It's kind of nicely categorized here as we're going to get through this thing. In total, folks, today what we are going to be giving you 6 plays totaling 16 units, and there could be more on the way as well. We'll see what Bryce likes as we get near the as we near that opening day that we have talked about. And folks, we're always transparent. I always got to keep it real with you guys. We've already made these plays and days ago, and so have a handful of other people as well. And those are the people that are following us and have subscribed to our newsletter. We've told you guys about back we launched it during the playoffs of the NFL season, but it's still up and running. That is the best place to get our plays as soon as we make them. And so we send them out to whoever wants to subscribe to it. It's free to subscribe to. We'll put a link in the bio down below. That way you guys can put your email addresses in there, and that gets the plays right into your inbox. And of course, we want you guys tuning in and coming to visit us and watch Bryce explain what his plays are each and every single day. But that is the best way, if we understand you can't make it every single time. And so that's the best way to keep up with the fellas on a day-to-day basis. And of course, I'm going to have some stuff cooking over there as well throughout the NFL offseason as well. So be sure to subscribe to the newsletter there. And we appreciate those who have already done so. And as a final piece of housekeeping, as always, Bryce, I gotta knock the rust off of the training wheels here, off my wheels here. It's like training wheels all over again, me being back in the host seat, forgetting all this stuff. Be sure to like the video, folks. Subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate any support you guys give us, and it being our first MLB show of the 2025 season. Why don't you leave a comment down below? Let the fellas know if you're tailing us on these futures bets. Bryce has a good handful here cooked up and ready to go. Bryce, you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into it here. Let's start with the pitchers. And I mentioned we've broken this thing up nicely. Let's start with the pitchers here. And Bryce, we're starting up with one where a guy that we're not fading too often. We haven't faded too often over the course of his entire career. A legend, really. And it's all said and done. What do you got cooked up for our first futures bet?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at DeGoat, Jacob DeGrom. We're taking his under strikeout total for the season at 184.5 for 3 units. Josh, you just mentioned our free newsletter that the folks can subscribe to. We're also doing our podcast. So on Apple and Spotify, you can go listen to the Generous Closet
I
podcast.
told you I had the rust on. There's things I'm forgetting, and
You're
I'll
all
be
good.
better. I'll be better next episode. Let's go.
You're all good. You're all good,
All
man.
right.
one of the reasons it's important to subscribe or not to subscribe to the newsletter and listen to the podcast is we're giving out these plays the second we make them, the second information trickles into us, and we're making bets because of it. And that's kind of where this Jacob DeGrom play stems from. It was sent out the second we put it down. 184 strikeouts. I went into it on the newsletter and in the podcast, so I won't hash on this too much, but it's just workload for Jacob DeGrom, right? We kind of have him penned into that. Maybe he'll get to the 100, 110, 120 inning mark. He hasn't thrown over 100 innings since 2019. Obviously, a plethora of injuries for what is one of the better pitching careers in one of the best peaks I've seen. So, some of the projection sites, ATC has him for 138 strikeouts. The BAT has him for 142. So both of those projection systems having to clear that by under 40 strikeouts. We also have some news out of Texas Rangers camp that he's going to be on innings limitation. They're going to build him up to about 4 innings in the spring. He's going to open up at the back of the rotation, and they're not going to be afraid to space out his starts, potentially skip his starts. So on top of what is always, unfortunately, an injury risk with DeGrom, it sounds like the Rangers are going to try and bubble wrap him quite a bit. So we're going to take the under here, 184 strikeouts for 3 units. We got this play when it was just under times 1.8. I think the line has shifted down quite a bit at this point. Still confident in the play, but obviously not as much value as when we originally sent out this play.
Sure thing. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to our second pitcher of the Futures Bet episode here, Bryce. And this is a southpaw who is has had a nice career himself, but a guy who's going to be donning a different jersey this season.
Yeah, we're going to go to Blake Snell of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we're also going to be taking his under strikeout total, which is currently set at 199.5. This is going to be a 5 unit play, Josh. We just need him to get under 200. This line's started around 205 earlier in the winter when he first signed, down to 199.5. So we're going to grab it at that number. The injury history with Blake Snell probably isn't as bad as everyone kind of makes it out to be. Everyone thinks he's kind of more injury prone. He's obviously had that adductor injury 3 separate years, groin, elbow surgery. So it does kind of start to pile up. But he's kind of been as he's done this NL West tour with San Diego and San Francisco. It's kind of been he's going to pitch 4 or 5 innings. You're going to get all the strikeouts. He's going to miss bats. He's got some of the best stuff in Major League Baseball, obviously with that high fastball and then the curveball down. I think Pitcher List kind of penned it, the Blake Snell blueprint. It works. It's tremendous. He's got some of the best stuff. The extension's great. All the data on his pitches is great. Problem is he just doesn't pitch enough, Josh. And he's only gone over 130 innings twice in his career. He's only gone over 170 strikeouts in his career twice as well. Those were his 2 Cy Young seasons. I don't expect the Dodgers to just run him at the pace that I think he wants to. He's come out and said he wants to be a workhorse. I don't think the Dodgers are going to let him do that. They've already come out and said that once Shohei Ohtani gets back on the mound in May, they're going to go to a 6-man rotation. They have like 9 or 10 legitimate starting pitching options if you include guys like Landon Knack, Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan. They re-signed Clayton Kershaw recently as well. Dustin May is going to need starts the way that he's looking this spring. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in that rotation. There's tons of guys. This is a team that, although they won the World Series last year, they did it with no semblance of a starting rotation, right? Like they were running guys out there that had no business being out there. They get Tony Gonsolin back this year. It's just way too crowded in that rotation. They're gonna have to space guys out. I expect them to give Snell, he's gonna lose starts no matter how you slice it. And that could be losing, 20, 30 strikeouts in the process.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about, I talked about the NL West. So he's a guy where now you've seen it, right? So San Diego's got a great scouting report on him. San Francisco obviously has a great scouting report on him. So he's pitched against these teams so much. I wonder if they start to kind of key in on what they can look for, kind of keyhole him a little bit. We know that he can lose. He's a slow starter notoriously for his career. So I kind of want to see what the scouting report these teams are going to compile on him. They've seen him so much. And then the last note I just have here is that his catcher, it was Patrick Bailey last year, who leads the league or led the league with 16 framing runs saved. He now goes to Will Smith, who was last in that department with negative 10 framing runs saved.
Mm.
We're not probably not going to have the ABS system, the automated balls and strike system for the regular season. So maybe there's a call or two or a few that he doesn't get that he doesn't steal that strike three. Don't think that'll really play into it. Obviously, his stuff is good no matter who's catching him. But just another thing to note there. So Blake Snell under 200 strikeouts for the season, 5 unit play.
Yeah, that's a really nice nugget at the end there. Just and obviously speaks to the research that you've done here, Bryce. So well done, sir, on that, and that obviously strong evidence to support that play, that really big play here. So 5 units on Blake Snell there. Bryce, let's go switch over to our position players here. And we got a couple of guys who are trying to get on the comeback trail. Why don't we just, I'll let you just take over for both of them. Maybe just wrap them all since they're kind of the same play here.
Yeah, we're going to be the awards this year. I don't know what it is. There's just really no value. We took a shot last year with Bobby Witt Jr. in the AL MVP. The value there was great. He ended up finishing second.
Great shot.
But just with all these awards, it's so tough. Like the AL Cy Young, something I really tried to get a play out for. There's so many guys that could win it at such great value, but ultimately we are only going to be in the awards category for one award. And that's going to be the NL Comeback Player of the Year. We have two guys for this one. We have our main guy, and then we have a hedge. And I'll talk about our main guy. This is another guy. This value is at times 6. It's now down to times 4, so we are still taking it. But those newsletter and podcast listeners obviously have this play a little bit earlier. It's Ronald Acuna Jr., Josh. And the last time we saw him, he was playing at that MVP level. Obviously, the lower body injuries have kind of been a problem for him in his career. But we're going to take a shot with Ronald Acuna Jr. coming back for the Braves here. We've seen that he can come back from these kind of injuries. He tore his ACL in 2021 and then came back to win the MVP in 2023. Obviously, he had that prolific stolen base home run season, so he was still running. Out of camp this year, we've heard him maybe hint at the fact that he might not be running as much, but a lot of these projection systems still have him for a 2020 season. And if he's stealing 20 bases, the kind of player that he is, the kind of bat that he is, I think he can accumulate the WAR to kind of have him stand out from this crop of guys that will be in position for the NL Comeback Player of the Year. Also worth noting that 4 of the last 6 winners of this award have been position players. When you look at the other position players that could win this, I think Christian Yelich would probably have the best shot, depending on the kind of season that he puts together. And then Matt McLain in Cincinnati could be another guy. I think if anyone was going to steal this award for him, it would be a pitcher, either his teammate Spencer Strider or the other guy who we are hedging him with. And I'll just get right into this play, is Sandy Alcantara for Miami there. When we originally made this play, it was kind of Ronald, and that's what we were going to be set on. And then the more I've watched spring training here, the more data I've gotten into. Sandy looks to be his old self. I know it's a small sample size, but he's gone, I think, 3 or 4 starts now. The pitch shapes, the velocities, the data on his pitches, it's right where he left off. At his best, he's the most efficient inning eater in the league. We see him going, complete games with the Maddox under 100 pitches. He's not always the most dominant strikeout guy, but he gets guys out with all his pitches. He's one of the best. He's already throwing 99, 100 in spring. We've heard some differing reports out of camp on whether the Marlins are going to limit him throughout the year as he comes back from Tommy John surgery. It does sound like he could be on the trade block towards the end of the year, potentially. Still has, I believe he has a club option next year that, a buyer of his may want to extend, obviously. He came out this morning and said he's not going to have any limitations. I think that's kind of up to the team to decide. So we're going to kind of wait and see on that. Early in camp, they said he wasn't going to be limited. And then we kind of heard that he might be. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But if he comes out pitching the way that he is in spring, I think he is going to be a problem. And that's why we're going to hedge this for 1 unit. The only red flag with this play would be that if he did get traded, if Miami did end up trading him at the deadline or before the deadline at any point to a team in the American League, obviously he wouldn't be eligible for the National League Comeback Player of the Year, but that would just kind of strengthen that Ronald Acuna bet, which we have 2 units on. So NL Comeback Player of the Year, we have Ronald Acuna Jr. for 2 units, Sandy Alcantara for 1 unit.
All right, love it. And I just realized that I said two position players at the top, so that's on me. Once again, folks,
You're all good.
it's the rust. Okay, I
Spring
gotta,
training.
it is spring training for all of us. Okay, I gotta knock it off. Bryce, before we get going, before we continue here, you want a little breaking news?
Let's hear some breaking news, Josh. What do you got?
Let's go over to the NFL real quick because the
Or
Baltimore Ravens just re-signed their left tackle Ronnie Stanley to a 3-year, $80 million contract. Bryce, live reaction from you as a Ravens fan. What do you think about that?
that's special, man. It's yeah, good to have Ronnie back. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to
We're,
have him. I
we're,
thought he was good as gone, so that's good to hear on the Ravens front.
we
A
go
little
from
Ravens
one
update.
we go from
Boy,
one Ron and Ronald Acuna to another Ron over there and Ronnie Stanley. So
sure.
and let's bring it back over to the diamond though real quick, folks. Just had to. I always got to get my NFL in there. That's I'm selfish. That's what I got to do. Got to steal Bryce Thunder a little bit. Bryce, let's keep it rolling on the diamond here. We're going to the teams, okay? And I can confirm these are two teams, okay? There's no mixing up there. Let's start, Bryce. Let's go to Queens, baby. Take me to Queens, Bryce, and let me know what you got over there.
Yeah, I got my New York Mets Friday black hat on as we record this, but unfortunately we will be going against the Mets for their season win total at 91 and a half. We're taking the under for 2 units. Not a huge play, but we are going to be taking this for 2 units, Josh. This team won 89 games last year. After a slow start, they really turned it on in the second half. They were great, sneaking into the playoffs, had a little bit of a magic run there. Pacoda has their win total at 92 wins. Fangraphs has them at 87, and the Bad Axe has them at 84. So we are siding with Fangraphs and the Bad Axe. They're on the lower side of that. This is obviously one of the better lineups in the major leagues, adding Juan Soto. We know what Pete Alonso and Frankie Lindor can do. I'm not worried about the lineup. What worries me, Josh, here is the starting rotation. Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea have already gotten injured this spring. The depth scared me before. It scares me even more now. They have Clay Holmes coming over from New York. He's going to transition to a starter. I like the arm slot and the arsenal changes that he's made this spring. He looks great. The problem for me with Clay Holmes is that he's never thrown more than 70 innings in his career, obviously coming out of the bullpen. But it is tough. We've seen some guys being able to transition the last couple of years, Garrett Crochet, Reynaldo Lopez, to name a few. But even them, they didn't really get over that 150 inning mark. So I'm a little bit worried about the stuff dropping off, potential injury down towards the end of the year here for Clay Holmes. And Kodai Senga, who's supposed to be their ace, he only threw 5 innings last year as well. So they're going to have a lot of guys who are going to be really maybe out kicking their coverage on inning totals this year. And what worries me about that is kind of having a lot of Griffin Canning and Paul Blackburn in this rotation. The NL East is really strong with the Phillies and the Braves. The Nationals are young and pesky, and we already mentioned Sandy Alcantara on the Marlins. They have a really, really nice rotation. Ryan Weathers and Max Meyer have looked great for them. Yuri Perez should be around. Edward Cabrera should be around. That's one of the most underrated rotations in the league, in my opinion. I think the Mets will still be good. I think they'll be solid. I mentioned that lineup can carry them a lot of the way. I just don't know if that lineup can carry them to 92 wins. So we're going to be taking under 91 and a half for 2 units.
All right, all right. Let's go from Queens here to a team that was historical for all the wrong reasons last season, Bryce. What do you got over there cooking over there in Chicago?
Yeah, we're going to the south side here to the Cry Sox, as you mentioned. The White Sox last year, they only won 41 games. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong with them. But for the second year in a row here, we did it with the Oakland A's last year. We're doing it again with the Chicago White Sox this year. We're taking the over win total on the lowest team in the major leagues. This is set at 52 and a half wins, Josh. So we do have them being more than 10 games better than they were last year. But we are taking over 52.5 wins for 3 units. I could not tell you how that team lost that many games last year, but I'm okay to ride with them for our annual lovable loser bet. It'll feel like they win 1 or 2 games a week. It'll be dark at times, but as we saw with Oakland last year, I think we cleared that win total with over a month left.
Yeah, it
So
was early.
yeah, these books keep setting these marks lower and lower every year on these teams just to kind of force people to bet these lines, and we're going to keep doing it if they're going to keep taking it. Pacoda has them to win 62 games. Fangraphs has them to win 63 games, and the BatX projects 65 wins. So all the projections agree that they think this is going to go over, and they actually think it's going to clear by 10 wins, which is pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're kind of in it for the same reasons as they are. This team won't be good. Even if they beat this for us, they still lose 109 games. So we're finding value, and we're trying to scatter a few wins together with these guys. They still have some major league talent on the roster. Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert Jr., Miguel Vargas, Mike Talkman. They're also going to fill that lineup with some young guys who are playing for a job, right? And trying to make a name for themselves, a stick in the major leagues. Guys are trying to get paid. It's a pride thing. So I expect them to come out. The rotation is actually young, and as I was getting into the data on some of these guys, Josh, they have a couple guys with some really nice data on their pitches, and their windups. So I think that their rotation actually could maybe be decent. I don't expect it to be good, but I think that they have some of the makeup to have success at the big league level. So we're going to see what they can do. Baseball happens, obviously, as we know. These guys are playing for pride. Chicago White Sox over 52.5 wins for 3 units to close out our sixth and final future for right now.
All right, Sox. You can be bad. We can't have you be historically bad again. All right. That's all we need from you. Just be somewhat useful this summer. Bryce, that was a lot of baseball. I love it. Good to see your research finally kind of come to fruition here, man. And let's pray for a good year, folks. Just to recap the entire episode, the entire slate, we got 6 plays, 16 units in total. Jacob deGrom under 184 and a half strikeouts for 3 units. Blake Snell under 199 and a half strikeouts for 5 units. That's our biggest play on the board. Ronald Acuna Jr., NL Comeback Player of the Year for 2 units, and we're hedging that with Sandy Alcantara, NL Comeback Player of the Year for 1 unit, pardon me. We're finishing it up with the New York Mets under 91 and a half wins for 2 units, and the Chicago White Sox over 52 and a half wins for 3 units. Folks, really appreciate you guys always tuning in, as always. Bryce, man, let's have a year. Why not, right? Why not us this year? Hey?
Yeah, it's gonna be a really busy start to the year for us. We're gonna be on some nerfies really early as these hitters try and catch up with their time. We're
Sure.
gonna have some high unit nerfies to start the year.
Goodness.
There's gonna be a busy start to the year for us, so buckle up.
Okay, bankroll locked and loaded. Folks, appreciate you guys tuning in. It was a big day for Bryce. He got his futures bets out. He's got his left tackle back. It's all happening for him. Big,
Good
big
day.
day. Absolutely. Folks, we'll be back before you know it here as we start to pump out some plays here once the regular season kind of gets underway. And of course, just a quick reminder before we take off here, just be sure to subscribe to our newsletter free of charge. We're going to be pumping out some NFL content in there all off season, and of course we're going to have, as I mentioned before, that's the best way to get our plays the quickest way possible. And of course, we like talking ball so much, so that's why we started up a podcast, the Janitor's Closet podcast, where we're just talking ball all the time. We're going from anything from baseball to football to golf to shoot. We even talked about curling briefly at one point. Okay,
Sure.
so we got everything happening over there at the podcast. Be sure to check us out there wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and we will see you guys before you know it. For Bryce Hunt, I'm Josh Frey-Sam. See you guys next time.